Why is Jewish missions in the shadow of the Holocaust such an important topic? Well, it's because I wanted to know. It's personal. I wanted to know whether or not my grandparents and all those siblings that I would never meet, I wanted to know whether or not they were able to hear the gospel and follow Yeshua, the Messiah. Shalom, it's good to be with you. I'm Mitch Glaser, president of Chosen People Ministries, and I am a Jewish believer from New York City. I still live in New York City. In fact, I live in the true Holy Land, Brooklyn. And we have almost 1 million Jewish people. And I would say most of those Jewish people have in one way or another been impacted by the Holocaust. Personally, it's a major part of my life because I was born in 1952, 7 years after the Holocaust. My mom lived in Brooklyn, of course. Her parents were from Belarus. She had 2 brothers, and she was the first person born in the United States of America. And so I came about 19 years afterwards. So I grew up with the Holocaust. And so the name of the book I wrote, In the Shadow of the Holocaust, or Jewish Missions in the Shadow of the Holocaust, really reflects how I feel because I've lived my entire life in the shadow of the Holocaust because it has shaped everything. It's shaped the Jewish community. It's shaped the nation of Israel. It's shaped my family, and it shaped me. For example, in my grandmother's home, there were pictures all over the wall of relatives from Belarus where they had fled many years before, actually almost a decade before the Holocaust. And they were supposed to pave the way for the rest of the family who were going to come over from Belarus and settle in New York City, which was the land of freedom, where you could practice the Jewish faith and be free and have all sorts of economic opportunities, because in Eastern Europe, the Jewish people were very restricted as to where they could live, what jobs they could take, the level of education they could have, and all sorts of things. Even before the Holocaust, things were pretty bad. My great-grandmother came over, I think, and she spent a little bit of time in New York City and said, "That's okay, I'm going back to Belarus." So unfortunately, she went back to Belarus, and between my grandmother and grandfather, you had about 15 or 20 brothers and sisters and children, aunts, cousins, uncles, and they were all killed, slaughtered by Hitler. And so why is Jewish missions in the shadow of the Holocaust such an important topic? Well, it's because I wanted to know. I wanted to know whether or not my grandparents and all those siblings that I would never meet, I wanted to know whether or not they were able to hear the gospel and follow Yeshua, the Messiah. Now, to my absolute surprise, I found out that the answer was probably yes, because even though the Christian church was mostly Orthodox and they were not really preaching to the Jewish people, and though my grandparents and their family were Jewish Orthodox and not the easiest group to reach, the gospel was going out through missionaries to the Jewish people that was supported by a lot of different Jewish missions, including Chosen People Ministries in continental Europe, but mainly in the United States and also in Britain, Germany, Holland, and some of these other countries. And so it's important because there are lessons to be learned. There are brave missionaries to the Jews who were Jewish that could have gotten out, but instead died in the camps. There are Jewish believers who could have gotten out, but they stayed and they endured because they wanted to see their fellow Jewish people come to know the Lord. In the shadow of the Holocaust is a season where we learn about how to respond during incredible suffering. And I focused on the Jewish believers, on the missionaries to the Jewish people, of whom there were many. And I hope that you will read the book, because Jewish Missions in the Shadow of the Holocaust is not just a book about suffering, about how believers could hang on to the Lord Jesus in the midst of great hardship. But there are also great lessons about courage, bravery, faithfulness, and so much more that we need today. So I hope that you'll read the book and learn many wonderful lessons that will help you today.